And welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, everybody. So good to have you here. Our normal Monday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Here was another live stream. Here with another live stream, and as a couple of guys have already pointed out on Twitter, if you're already having college football withdrawals, this is the place for you. Because we're going to be covering college football every single day, every single week, year-round. 24/7, 365, right here at the Gridiron Expert. So we're so happy to have you guys sticking with our normal schedule here. And God, I hope you all are staying warm. I hope you're all staying warm out there because I know the majority of the country right now is getting hit with, as you can see in our title, the snowpocalypse. It's ridiculous. Where I am, here in Jonesboro, so Arkansas State, we got probably about 6 inches or so overnight. I mean, we luckily knew it was coming, but we had about 6 inches or so overnight. Going to get a small break tomorrow. Then we're going to add to that on Wednesday and Thursday. So classes have already been canceled or remote learning like we've been doing all year. But that's already happened all the way through Friday. So this week's basically shot. Was able to go out and enjoy a little bit of the snow today. Was able to really enjoy the snow today. I mean, seriously, I was going in there, was coming up to part of my calves. It was amazing. It was amazing weather. It's the best snow I've ever experienced. I'm sure a lot of you guys are dealing with that too. I know Scott from down in Texas, he said he's dealing with the state of emergency down in Texas, and Arkansas is getting hit, like I said, where I am, Missouri. Tennessee's getting hit pretty bad, so it's great. It's great. If you are a cold weather guy, if you're a guy who doesn't get to experience the snow that much, so people down here in the South, you're having a blast with this snowpocalypse. Record lows everywhere else too. So, we're pumped. We are extremely excited, and I like that view right there. I like that view. Josh is hooking us up with a better view for us so I can see you guys a little bit better and see myself a little bit better too. So appreciate it, Josh. But Hunter, it's so good to see you here, my man. We're going to hit all your questions tonight. Zane Reese, Keto, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. Killing it with your videos, killing it with your setup. I love it. Keep up the great work over there. Eddie Rose, good to see you. John Hopkins, as always, my man John. Glad you could actually join us for a live stream tonight. And of course, everybody else that's soon to join us later, make sure you hit that like button right now before we kind of really get started. Make sure you hit that like button. It really boosts our analytics. It helps other people find this video, helps other people find our channel. And of course, that's the ultimate goal, is to continue to grow this channel, to continue to build this channel, which of course isn't possible without you guys. So, let's talk a little college football. We've already got some good questions here. Will Burrow, good to see you. Happy to have you here. Let's talk some college football. So, Hunter, let's see what my thoughts are on Grambling and Southern. We'll get to that in 1 second. We'll talk FCS here in a moment. I know my man DM, whether he's able to join us tonight or not, I'm sure he will really appreciate that. So, great questions there. Zane Reese, Gus Malzahn to Central Florida, home run hire. Malzahn, Dylan Gabriel could be deadly. Eddie Rose, of course, mentioning that UCF hired Gus, the former Auburn coach. And Eddie, do I hear stuff in my head sometimes? What an odd and serious question. No, not really. Might want to get that checked. All right, but before we get to the FCS questions, Hunter, and I will get to that, I want to talk about Gus Malzahn and Central Florida and that hire that Zane has brought up, that Eddie has brought up, and that I'm sure a lot of people are going to be bringing up down the road. And we are actually going to have a video out on that tomorrow. You know, we were going through our coaching changes right now, kind of breaking down all these big hires and big switches, and we're going to address that tomorrow. Gus Malzahn going into Central Florida. But like Zane just said, I think it was an absolute home run hire for Central Florida. And I would tell you, if you go back and watch some of our old videos, I don't remember which one it is. I don't know if it was a live stream or maybe it was an earlier coaching video, coaching change. It was Auburn. I don't know what it was. We said that Gus Malzahn was a prime candidate for that Central Florida job when Josh Heupel left to go to Tennessee. We said that. We said to me, he was the leading candidate. He was the one that made the most sense. Why wouldn't you go with a guy that has defeated Nick Saban 3 times? Go with a guy that has over 60 wins in the SEC, 68-35 during his time with Auburn. Got the Tigers to a national championship. Got them to a handful of New Year's Six bowl games. So why not go for him? And Gus Malzahn, not just because of the experience that he has, but it's the fact that his style of play, the style that Gus Malzahn wants to implement wherever he goes, that up-tempo spread offense, It fits that UCF mold perfectly. Scott Frost was running that during his time there. We saw how well that worked out, that undefeated season where they won the Peach Bowl over Gus Malzahn's Auburn Tigers. We saw how well that has worked for Josh Heupel during his few years down in Orlando. Got them to another New Year's Six bowl game, fell narrowly to LSU, and still had one of the most prolific passing attacks in the country. Now, as I believe it was Zane again mentioning, you pair Dillon Gabriel, who's a very, very competent quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks I'd say in the country. You're pairing him up with one of the greatest offensive masterminds in the country. So this was absolutely a home run hire for Auburn, or Central Florida. Still used to Gus being at Auburn. Absolutely a home run hire for Central Florida. And I think it's going to really pan out for him. I really do. And we're going to get to see a great matchup in week 1. Boise State traveling into Orlando to take on Central Florida, two of what have now recently been the two of the best group of 5 schools in the country, both dealing with brand new head coaches. It's going to be a fun one. That could be a major role in who maybe gets that New Year's Six bowl berth in 2021. So, that was the big news coming out of the day. Gus Malzahn to Central Florida. We called it. We knew it was coming. Jeff Lebby, they thought he was going to go from Ole Miss. Forget about it. Terry Mohajir making a solid hire. Better than anything he ever did at Arkansas State. Keto, it's so funny seeing parts of the country having this snow. Up at Washington, we have it every year. Keto, I was going to mention that. There's so many people from the north. So many people from you in Washington, Michigan, Wisconsin, all those northern states said this is normal for them. I've never experienced cold like this, Keto. I've never experienced cold like this. It's like 3 degrees here. Tomorrow morning it's going to be 1 degree when I get up. And I've never experienced anything like that. Never. So this is unreal. And I'm sure for you guys, you're just like, we're being a bunch of wusses down here because we've never had to deal with something like that. So, but no, I'm very excited about it. Very, very excited about it. And I'll be doing that probably through Friday, going out there and playing in the snow and dealing with the cold. All right, let's see. Michigan State, #1 fan. Good to see you here. 2021 schedule sets up nicely. Possible win the Big Ten East. My thoughts. I'll pull up their schedule here in a second. I'll do the same, Eddie, for Missouri so we can see if they can, in fact, start 6-0. And I'm glad, Keto, I'm glad you like my thoughts on UCF because we again, we'll touch more on that tomorrow in our UCF video, but they are set up very nicely to have a big 2021 season under Gus Malzahn. And you don't want to miss that video tomorrow either because we've got some interesting trends, very interesting trends from every team that Gus Malzahn has been associated with, what they have accomplished in his first year, whether he was a coordinator or a head coach. Those teams always do something very special in his first year, and we'll share those tomorrow in that UCF video. So do not miss out on that. All right, I'm going to Google a couple schedules, guys. Hunter, I want to start with you. First off, great question about the FCS. And tonight, guys, for now at least, we're going to stick with just the chat, I think. We're going to try to alternate every single week, try to alternate between chat and calls. We might break out the phone lines here in a little bit. We'll see. But we kind of want to make sure we get to everybody in the chat and then every other week get to people on the phone so we can kind of get everybody's take and everybody gets an opportunity to talk. But Hunter, your thoughts on the FCS? Absolutely excellent. Grambling and Southern, those HBCU colleges that year in and year out do extremely well at the FCS level. I do think Grambling's a team that has a chance to make some noise this year in the FCS. They're one of those teams that's always in contention to make the Celebration Bowl. I think they, a few years, made the Celebration Bowl, playing against the guys like North Carolina A&T, North Carolina Central, whoever that might be. And you look at the FCS season, guys, and what we're dealing with. I hope you all watched that. McNeese and Tarleton game on Saturday. I hope you watched that. Tarleton making their debut at the Division I level, blew a 14-point lead with under 4 minutes left. Game went to double overtime. Coach O's son playing in there, and McNeese won. Came back down 14 under 4 minutes. Ended up winning the game by 3 in overtime. So, I mean, what a way to kick off the FCS season. Am I right? I mean, you can't ask for anything better. So the FCS as a whole, Hunter, we'll be talking Grambling, we'll be talking Southern, because we're going to do about 1 to 2 games of the week every single week over the course of this FCS season, and that's going to stretch all the way until May 15th, somewhere around there. So we'll have plenty of FCS coverage for you guys that are interested in that, and I hope you are, because that's 3 extra months of college football that in a normal year we would never get. we'd never get. And you're going to get to experience teams and watch teams and learn about teams that under normal circumstances you probably would never care about. Because usually the FCS going on at the same time as the FBS, we disregard them. We only pay attention to them when they're playing our team, and usually our team is paying said FCS school to come and get beat. Every now and then you see an upset, but most of the time you don't. But now's an opportunity to see these guys go head-to-head, see some competitive FCS football. Then we'll have the playoffs, which is better than the current college football playoff, and then the championship in Frisco. So I know it's a lot to unravel, a lot to cover there, but we're really excited about it. Hunter, your thoughts on South Carolina? I've looked at their schedule a little bit. I've got it pulled up here. I love the Shane Beamer hire. We gave that a B-, a B+, somewhere around there, about above average. It was above average hire for Shane Beamer at South Carolina, and I think it's going to pan out relatively well for them. But Hunter, you've got to give them time. I know you're more of a Clemson guy, not necessarily more of a South Carolina guy. But I'm looking at their schedule here. It sets up to the point where maybe you could see South Carolina start 3-3, 4-3. They're not going to beat Georgia. They're not going to beat Texas A&M. They could beat Vanderbilt, could beat Tennessee, depending on how quickly Josh Heupel turns that program around. But I'm telling you one thing, and my man Destry will know this. Hunter, don't disregard East Carolina. Do not disregard East Carolina, the Pirates, out of the American Athletic Conference. South Carolina travels there in week 2, and that could be a potential Group of 5 or Power 5 upset game. So South Carolina is going to be in for a world of hurt, I think, in year 1 under Shane Beamer. Their only leader is Kevin Harris, the star running back. Shane Beamer's got to figure out how to replace his coaches that have all left. Who's going to be quarterback? Who's going to step up on defense and be a leader? There's too many questions, and that's to be expected with brand new head coaches. When you bring in a new head coach, most of the time it's because the previous guy didn't do his job and didn't do it well enough. It's a rebuild, and South Carolina is certainly in the midst of a rebuild. So I think 4-8, I think, would be a solid season. 4-8 with 2-3 SEC wins, that'd be pretty dang good for year 1 under Shane Beamer, no doubt about it. Eddie Rose, do I think that your Tigers can start 6-0? Let's find out. Let me look at your schedule here, Eddie. And I don't have all the schedules memorized. We are going to do schedule previews very soon. We're going to do game-by-game predictions in the summer, like you know. But Eddie, after seeing this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, there is a very good chance you start 6-0. Eddie, yes, there is. The toughest game I see there would be the 2 road games, either at Kentucky or at Boston College. I love that Boston College matchup. I think that's going to be a very underrated game against the Eagles in Chestnut Hill. In Chestnut Hill is where they're going. But, I think you're going to beat Central Michigan. You'll beat Southeast Missouri. Should beat Tennessee. Should beat North Texas. So, again, and then you got Texas A&M coming to Columbia. And we know Texas A&M, they lose a lot up front. They lose their quarterback in Kellen Mond. There's a chance, Eddie, you could start 8-0, really. You could start 8-0, because after the bye week, you travel to Vanderbilt. And I'm not expecting much from them in year 1 under Clark Lee. Now, that's a stretch. Missouri's still learning. They exceeded expectations in year 1 under Eli Drinkwitz. I'm not expecting them to be SEC title contenders in year 2. But the schedule sets up very nicely for them. But I'm telling you, Eddie, you might start off, 6-0, 7-0, 8-0, wherever. That back half of the schedule, that final 4 is tough. At Georgia, South Carolina, Florida, at Arkansas. You saw how well Arkansas played against Missouri this last year. They're going to continue to get better. Georgia, Florida, arguably the top 2 teams in the East. South Carolina, you get in Columbia. Not too worried about that game, but again, it depends on how Shane Beamer does in year 1. So in those last 4 games, there's a chance that Missouri could only go 1-3. And that would be really disappointing to start 8-0 and then finish 1-3. 9-3 is still a heck of a season, but 8-0, Missouri would be probably a top 10 team. So something you got to put those things in perspective there. That game at Georgia, if they start as strong as you think they will, and as I think they might, that game against Georgia on November 6th could determine the SEC East, because I think that Florida takes a little bit of a step back this year. All right. So we talked South Carolina. We talked Missouri. I love it. I love the SEC East. We talked that last week with Dontron. He called in. We talked about Georgia and Florida. Could his Gators maybe challenge for another SEC East title? We said no. Who knows? That game down in Jacksonville will more than likely decide it. Cyclone Mitch, good to have you here, my man. Got your message on Twitter earlier. I'm happy for you. And Josh is waving at me about something here. Good to have you here, Mitch. UCF got an upgrade at head coach. Good for them. Yeah, good for them. They got an upgrade when it comes to, I think, the ability to recruit, when it comes to experience, and when it comes to character. I think it definitely comes to character. Josh Heupel, to me, to never really show good character and good leadership for his men at Central Florida. I think Gus Malzahn can do that. I think Gus Malzahn's the guy that can do that. We saw that at Auburn, at least. Zane Reese, I think Cincinnati beats us. Central Florida and Cincinnati, maybe Memphis, have secured their spot as perennial Group of 5 programs and New Year's 6 contenders. Yes, I agree. I agree with that. Fallen Hero, yep, UCF got Malzahn. We talked about that at the beginning of the stream. We're going to talk about it tomorrow. Remember, everybody, tomorrow we are continuing our coaching changes series. It starts with Central Florida. We're going to go deep into detail about Central Florida hiring Gus Malzahn, what it means for not just them, but what it means for the American Athletic. Again, it was a home run hire. The way we've talked about it all stream long, I think you know what grade we're going to give Gus Malzahn. It was a fantastic hire. It was one that we expected. That was the one that made the most sense to me. And some people aren't happy about it. I saw one guy tweet. He goes, "Wow, we really got a guy that Mississippi State can beat." I don't want a coach that Mississippi State can beat, and I think that's the stupidest comment out there. Yeah, look, because upsets are going to happen in football, guys. I think we all know that. Upsets are going to happen. You're not going to be a national title contender every single year. Find me a guy that can beat Nick Saban 3 times. Maybe I hone too much in. Maybe I focus too much on that. I don't know. But find me a guy that can beat Nick Saban 3 times. Dabo Swinney, maybe. Let's see, beat him, what, twice? But find me a guy that can beat Nick Saban 3 times. And that guy is now a head coach at a Group of 5 school. Not to dog on the Group of 5, because they're elite. The American Athletic, I consider to be a power conference now. But find me a guy that can do that. You can't. You can't. Nick Saban rarely loses. And if he does, he rarely loses to the same people. Gus Malzahn has SEC experience, SEC recruiting experience. His style of play is perfect to fit that mold in Orlando. He's beat the best of the best. He's been at the highest level. Went to the national championship as a head coach at Auburn. Went there and won it as the offensive coordinator at Auburn. He can do it again. Can. And I hate to say this for you Central Florida fans. I think this is a leverage job. It's a good program. He called it, Gus Malzahn in his press conference, a top 20 job in the country. I'd agree with that right now. Location, talent, recruiting, everything, fine. But do you really think that Gus Malzahn's going to stay there for 5 to 8 years? No. If he wins the way he did at Auburn, if he and does what UCF expects him to do, and that's win 10, 11, 12 games consistently, make New Year's 6 bowl games consistently, make the championship, conference championship consistently, he will be back in a Power 5 job very, very soon. Remember, last time he was in a position like this was right here at Arkansas State. He stayed for 1 year, won the Sun Belt, jumped ship to Auburn, was there ever since. So, Malzahn won't stick around long in Orlando, but it's enough to stabilize this program after they've been in this state of turmoil since Heupel left. It's enough to change the culture and make it a better place. He will leave Central Florida better off than where it was when Heupel left. Put it like that. All right. Let's get back to the chat here. I go off on these little tangents sometimes as I get the looks from my producers. Like I'm getting right now. Phone numbers?
No, do you want the paper?
Not yet.
For notes?
Yeah, give it to me. I'll take it. You know, I'm pretty indecisive. All right. Pretty indecisive over here. All right, Keto, making a Rutgers prediction tomorrow. Any quick thoughts on them? I have him with a pretty solid record. No, you're not wrong for that. Keto, you're not wrong for that. I think Rutgers was one of those teams, and if you watched our videos, we addressed some of the more surprising teams in the country last year. Rutgers was one of them. The fact that they won 3 Big Ten games, not 3 normal, 3 Big Ten games in an all Big Ten schedule in year 1 under Greg Schiano, they surpassed expectations. So I don't know how good is solid to you. I don't know if we're talking 6-6 or 9-3, but a bowl berth is not out of the realm of possibility for Rutgers. So you're not wrong for thinking that. This is a team that, under Sean Gleason, I think saw a major step forward offensively. A team that defensively, I think, was better than people thought. They allowed a lot of points. They allowed a lot of big plays, but think about who they played in the Big Ten. You know, Ohio State, Indiana, who exceeded expectations. Penn State got hot near the end, and that's when Rutgers unfortunately had to play them. So you look at some of the teams they played, they were still so young, they weren't going to be able to stop those teams defensively. But the one thing I saw from Rutgers was the effort and the fight and the drive, no matter how much they were winning by or how much they were losing by. You go back and watch their game against Ohio State. They were so energetic. And even when they were down 20, 24, whatever it was, they kept fighting. You saw this energy and excitement from this team, something you really didn't see much under Chris Ash. So that's not players, that's coaching. That's the culture that Greg Schiano's instilling in Piscataway. And I 100% believe that they can be a bowl team in 2021. So no, you're not wrong for thinking that. I'm looking forward to seeing your predictions. I'll be one of the first to watch it. I've got your post notifications on. I'm a subscriber, so I am looking forward to it. Cyclone Mitch, Iowa State going 11-1. You and I have talked about that, and it is not far-fetched. I'm not releasing my prediction yet. We'll look at their schedule later on, but and because we're going to do schedule predictions for our way too early top 25, which will come out relatively soon. We're actually going to do it pretty different. I'll explain why and how. But yes, Iowa State going 11-1. People think it's ridiculous. It's not. It's not. And again, I circle back. The Oklahoma game. Maybe they lose in Norman. They can beat them in the Big 12 championship game and still get to the playoff. Can't lose 2 and go to the playoff. That'd be a little too difficult. But everybody will think Iowa State's done if they lose to Oklahoma and Norman. But if they run the table the rest of the way, and they can get their revenge in the championship game, just like Oklahoma did this year. The roles would just be reversed. Iowa State, absolutely a Big 12 and playoff contender. Burger Smooth, I love this question. Which FCS conference is going to be as fun to watch as the Sun Belt this past season? I love that question. Burger Smooth, if I am you, I am looking at the Colonial Athletic Association, the CAA. That's the conference I think you should watch out for the most. I love the one division. They've got Maine, they've got Albany, they've got Villanova. And I think Maine, it was their basketball team that just opted out. I don't think it was their football team. But the Colonial Athletic Association also includes James Madison. But James Madison isn't in the same division as that of Albany and Villanova and guys like that. James Madison's going to be the favorite in the conference. But all those 3 teams I just mentioned that are grouped in that other division can contend for that title and can contend in the playoff. So watch out for the Colonial Athletic Association. I'm really excited about that. Of course, the Missouri Valley is very fun. You've got North Dakota State. You've got South Dakota State. They meet on April 3rd. Could determine who wins the conference. Of course, with North Dakota State is the perennial favorite every single year to win the national championship. So keep an eye on that conference. A couple newcomers in there that could challenge. Watch out for Jackson State. Deion Sanders, the brand new head coach there. Should be fun to watch whether they win or not. But if I'm you, Colonial Athletic Association, CAA, that is the conference I'm most excited about. And we kind of touched on that in our FCS preview that we posted earlier this week. What do I think about Michigan State at Miami? Right now, I'm going to go Miami wins that game. I had Miami winning that game in East Lansing had it been played in 2020. I just don't think Michigan State has the offensive capability to hang with Miami right now, especially with De'Aaron King coming back. All right, let's see what else here. John, hey, John, good to see you, man. Good to see you. It's been a while since we've seen John Sarian, so nice to have you here. Problem for UCF to me is Fickell is probably a better coach with similar talent to Malzahn. Malzahn had some top recruiting classes that he'll never get at Central Florida. And you're right with that. I mean, he's not going to be able to recruit the same way he was at Auburn down at Central Florida. It's just not possible. Even though you are a big name, even though he has a good track record, the SEC is still greater than the American Athletic. People are going to want to go play in the SEC. There's no doubt about that. But I think some people recognize the potential that Central Florida has. They've been contenders now for the last 3-4 years. and they recognize the ability that Gus Malzahn can transform them, especially for an offensive player. You will get a lot of playing time. You're going to rack up a lot of stats, and you could do some damage. And Central Florida is not a place you're going to go and you're like, man, I can't wait to go play in the GoDaddy Bowl. Central Florida is a place where you can say, hey, we might get a chance to go play in the Fiesta Bowl. We might get a chance to go play in the Peach Bowl. We have that chance and that opportunity. We have enough potential to do that. And when we do that, we'll play a big boy. We'll play Auburn. We'll play LSU. We'll play some SEC big dog or Big Ten big dog and have a chance to upset them on the national stage. So these group of 5 schools, guys, now with the rise of them, you're not seeing, it's a recruiting tactic. It's a recruiting tactic where you can look at it now and say, hey, we are not just some pushover. We're going to get beat by the big dogs. We are guys that are going to go and contend for New Year's Six bowl games and conference championships. So the group of 5, they're shooting right up. They really are. And we got some super chats here, guys. And right now, that's always activated. It's always enabled. And Keto and Steven taking advantage of it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. I mean, right there, that's unreal. It's unreal. Guys, your likes on the videos, your comments on the videos, these super chats, they go right back into our channel and help other people find it. So Keto, thank you so much. Steven, thank you so much. I want to get to your questions right now. Keto, my duck hunter. I've ever hunted before. You're an avid hunter. Keto, I live in the South. Duck hunting and deer hunting reign supreme here. And yeah, I've never been. Some of my best friends are avid hunters. They go duck hunting and deer hunting every weekend when it's season. And I've never, ever been, believe it or not. I've always had that desire, just never got around to it. My family never did it. They were never hunters. They were never born, raised hunters, so I guess it just didn't go in my family. But it's something that I've always been interested in. Just never had the opportunity. But that's pretty cool. I didn't know. I'd never think of Washington as a place where you can go duck hunting or deer hunting, whatever. So that's really cool. But no, I'm not, unfortunately. Great question, though. I love that. Steven, do I think Iowa State could make the playoffs if they beat Oklahoma or Texas in the Big 12 championship? And Steven, we just mentioned that with Mitch a second ago. Just mentioned that with him. 100%. Iowa State is a national title contender. They are a college football playoff contender. And if you had said that 5 years ago, everybody would have laughed at you. Everybody would have laughed at me. No one would have believed you. But they are now. And like I was telling Mitch earlier, he says, hey, Iowa State can go 11-1. And I agree with that. I'm not saying that's my official prediction yet, but it can happen. 11-1 with the lone loss to probably Oklahoma on the road, maybe Texas, who knows. But if they get their revenge over one of those teams in the Big 12 championship, they lose to Oklahoma and Norman, but beat Oklahoma in the Big 12 title game, they are 100% in the college football playoff. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about that. So, yes, I 100% believe they can make the playoffs. And you ask me, right now, you ask me tomorrow, whenever it is, I'm going to tell you they're playoff contenders. And that's not going to change unless something horrible happens. But, yeah, no, I 100% believe they can. And I'm looking forward to it. That Oklahoma-Iowa State game in the regular season will be huge. And mark my words, I believe Iowa State will be back in the Big 12 championship. Don't have an official record for you yet, but I do believe they will be back in the Big 12 championship. Keto and Steven, again, thank you so much for those super chat donations. I cannot thank you enough for that. It's guys like you, all of you here, all 20 of you watching right now that keep this channel alive. The support is what makes this channel go. Could not do it without you, so thank you so much. All right, checking back up here through the chat. Let's see, we caught up on a few. John Hopkins, thoughts on Kentucky? John, I think I don't have their schedule pulled up. I can look for you real quick. I will tell you, John, that getting the transfer, you've got Joey Gatewood already, dual threat quarterback, but getting Will Levis, I believe that's how you pronounce it, from Penn State, I was shocked that he chose to transfer to Kentucky. Getting him, also a dual threat quarterback, and one of the best releases from a quarterback I've ever seen. That's going to do wonders for this Mark Stoops offense, 100%. I'm curious to see who gets the starting job, if I'm being honest, assuming Levis is eligible to play immediately. So, looking at the schedule, John, again, I'm not going with an official prediction, but I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see at least 5 wins that I almost can say automatic. I mean, nothing's ever automatic, but 5 wins I feel confident in. So right there, you've got 5. And then you can't help but wonder, all right, well, do they win at Mississippi State? Do they win at Louisville? I don't think they beat Georgia or LSU, but could they beat Florida in Lexington? They always play them tough. Could they beat South Carolina? Could they beat Missouri? A lot of these kind of toss-up games that if you were breaking it down from a percentage standpoint, the percentage of Kentucky winning would be somewhere in the 50s, 55 or less, I'd say. 55% or less. And to me, those are toss-ups. But at least 5 and 7, which isn't going to cut it. You say 7 and 5, 8 and 4. Rarely do I see a team lose every single toss-up game, at least in our eyes. So you win a couple of those, you are 7 and 5, 8 and 4. So I think that's a very good assessment. Zach Z 0221, good to see you, my man. Not going to share any playoff predictions next season, quite frankly, because I don't have any. I haven't done a deep enough dive into the schedules and the returning talent. We're constantly working on that, but I haven't done it enough. We're working on other things, but I can say Alabama, I think, makes a return. That's about all I can tell you. It's really about all I can tell you. That's all. Usually, when in doubt, go Alabama. Mitch, great question. My thoughts on the championship of life hire at Arkansas State. Yeah, I'll be quoting that. We're going to have a video out for that here in a few days. Breaking down Butch Jones coming to Jonesboro, which again is where I'm located. My school, junior here at Arkansas State. I thought he was the stupidest man in the world when he pulled that championship of life crap a few years ago. Because who wants to be the champion of life? You're not coming to Tennessee to be the champion of life. You're coming to win football games. And he said that after a loss. We might have won today, but you know what? We're the champions of life. Who cares? You just lost to Vanderbilt or whoever you lost to. Who cares? Come on. But yes, at Arkansas State, I think he'll do well. And similar to Gus Malzahn, I think Arkansas State is a leverage job for Butch Jones. It's his opportunity to get back into the head coaching ranks. It's his ability and opportunity to do well here and within 3-4 years leave for a better opportunity. Whether that's another group of 5 school/conference or maybe get back into the Power 5 ranks. Now, he's got to do well here. And the Sun Belt's no pushover anymore. App State, Coastal Carolina, Troy, it's always well. Georgia Southern, Louisiana. So many teams in the Sun Belt that can contend now. But I think he will do well here. And I think learning under Nick Saban is huge. Having SEC coaching experience at Tennessee is huge. So he's got head coaching experience. He's learned from the best. This was a very solid hire, which Terry Mahajer made before he jumped ship to Central Florida. So Terry Mahajer has 2 home run hires in the span of a month, both at different schools. I didn't like him much here at Arkansas State, but that is pretty dang impressive. Gamecocks. Can the Gamecocks get to 500 or above this year? My initial thought will be no. But you never know. We'll have more on that later. Sports Ball Talk. Thoughts on one division. Excellent show. I believe it's the number 1 show in the world right now, if I'm not mistaken. Number 1 show in the world, and that is a title and an award and a ranking that is very, very well deserved. If you didn't know, guys, I'm a huge Marvel fan, huge Star Wars fan. Don't have to talk football all the time, and if you're not watching WandaVision, I highly recommend you go do it because they've got 3 episodes left, and it is phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. And I have left every single episode on the edge of my seat screaming, why does it have to end? Why are there 7 minutes of credits at the end of every episode? If you're going to have 7 minutes of credits, why don't we have some post-credit scene like every other Marvel movie? It drives me nuts. You see, oh man, we've got a 45-minute episode. That's awesome. Well, no, it's not. It's 38 minutes because 7 minutes of it will be static on the TV and going through a million different credits. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. But the show is fantastic. It's one of my one little pet peeve that I've got on that. But yes, you should definitely check it out. Eddie Rose, Georgia or Clemson? Man, what a game. What a game that's going to be in week 1. The game will be played in Charlotte, so no true home field advantage for either. Based on history alone, not between the 2 programs, but how they have fared over the last few seasons, I will say Clemson. That can very well change by the time we do our predictions in June, July, whenever those come out. Right now, I'm going to say Clemson. Dontron, good to see you. Popping in to say hi. Always happy if you're here for 2 seconds or the whole time. We're happy to have you. Go Gators. Eddie, what's my NBA team? Geographically, my NBA team are the Memphis Grizzlies. I've always been a Grizzlies fan. I've also always been a Heat fan. Yes, before LeBron. Before the LeBron era. And even if it wasn't, I didn't jump ship with LeBron and go to Cleveland and then go to LA. I'm a diehard Grizzlies fan. I'm a diehard Heat fan. I was so thrilled when the Heat made the finals this last year with the bubble and everything, and was really, really hoping we get that win over LeBron and the Lakers. But give credit to Butler and Spoelstra for getting there and then actually putting up a fight in the finals. I was really happy about that. All right, catching up on the chat here. We are making our way down. Zach, do I think Notre Dame should... I like this question a lot. Can we pin that? Can we pin that question? Let's get that up here from Zach0221 about Notre Dame and the academic expectations. And again, we're gonna run through the rest of the comments here, but I wanna hone in on that for a second. Do I think Notre Dame should lower academic expectations for student athletes to be able to get more 5 stars? I'm going to say no, believe it or not. I'm going to say I don't think they should. Programs like Notre Dame and Vanderbilt, those are the top 2, but you go out west, Stanford is very elite, UCLA, USC. You don't think of those being as elite academic schools, but they are. Not all of them have the academic requirements to go play football, but Notre Dame and Vanderbilt do, and I don't think those should be changed. Because at the end of the day, football is important, 100%. We all love football. We want to win. We want our teams to do well. But these guys, these college athletes that are going to these schools need to know that you're not... While you might be getting a scholarship to go play at Notre Dame, a scholarship to go play at Vanderbilt, you're not going to get some free ride there. You're not going to come play and, oh, you're struggling in school, we'll bail you out because you're banking on going to the NFL, because you never know what life's going to throw at you. You get a horrible, horrible injury. You get to the NFL and it doesn't pan out. You go to Notre Dame or Vanderbilt or one of these elite academic schools and hey, maybe you're not as good as you thought you were. You know, so many things that can happen where if you go in with this mindset, I'm going to the NFL, I'm going to make millions, it doesn't matter about academics. I'll just major in something so generic, so easy, that I can breeze through school and then I'll be good and set for life. That's not how it's going to happen. Not always how it's going to happen. And I think a lot of these players know that. I think they know if you're really strongly considering Vanderbilt, Notre Dame, or whatever, you have that drive to do well academically. You have that drive to do well in the classroom. I don't think you'd go there and put yourself through that, because I think Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Stanford, guys like that, make it clear, like, hey, we want you to be here. We want you to be here because we think you can help us win. But you're not going to slouch in the classroom. If your grade point dips below a certain level, most of the time it's at those schools like a 3-point, 3.25, whereas at most normal schools it's like a 2-point. I mean, anybody can make a 2-point. I could stick a toddler in there at a public school. He'd get a 2-point at college. I don't think it's that difficult. And that's why you never really see many guys getting academic issues and not eligible to play at a Alabama, Arkansas, wherever, because they're able to make a 2-point. Most people are. But I have the most respect for people that go to Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, those elite academic programs, even in the Ivy League and the FCS, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, and also play football there or any sport, because they are balancing a very rigorous workload. They are putting their academics and their careers first. They're also balancing that with football, basketball, whatever it is. So, long story short, Zach, I don't think they should change that, because you would be changing tradition, and how unfair would that be to the rest of their students? Now, I know you could say we're doing it for everybody. We're lowering our academic expectations for everybody. But to say we're doing it just so we can get more football players, I think that's wrong. I know for Notre Dame, that's very, very frustrating, because they've come so close the last few years. They've made the playoff and always get beat by a Clemson or an Alabama or an Ohio State or someone, guys that don't really have those level of expectations and those requirements. But at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, if you're that administration, what's important to you? What is important to you? Notre Dame was one of the best programs in college football right now and in college football history. Past, present, future, they are. They have their ups and downs, but when you think of historic blue blood college football programs, I think of Notre Dame as one of them. I genuinely do. The atmosphere, the tradition, the pageantry, Notre Dame is up there. And that goes along with the academics. It's always, always, always more than football, no matter how much we don't want to believe it, no matter how much we want to stray from that, there's always more than what we see out on the field. And I don't think any school should ever lower their expectations academically just to benefit their athletics. Excellent question, though, Zach. I love that. Excellent, excellent question. I'm sorry for going on a little bit of a rant for everybody, but when I saw that, we had to pin it. We had to spend some time on it because that was wonderful. Deep question, too. Fallen Hero, who do I think will be the Group of 5 game day? I don't know. I don't know what exactly you mean by that. If they're going to go to a Group of 5 school for game day, it could be Central Florida, Cincinnati. You could see a Coastal Carolina, Louisiana, depending. It's going to come down to who shows up in 2021. Who is elite? It also comes down to what week that game's played. There's always 1 week during the season where there aren't many elite games in the Power 5, and that's when game day chooses to go to either a Group of 5 school, or they go to the FCS, or they go to the Masters, or Times Square, or somewhere that makes absolutely no sense, but they're just doing it because we're game day and we can do whatever we want. Why not tour the world? But I'm not really sure. I haven't looked at the schedule close enough to know, because it does matter. It does depend on what other games are going on that week. You got Alabama, Georgia playing 1 week. Tough luck if the top Group of 5 teams are playing that week. They're not going there. They're going to Alabama, Georgia. So it just depends. But I think week 1, you're going to see College Game Day in Charlotte for Georgia and Clemson. I'd be shocked if they went anywhere else. Keto, duck hunting is amazing in Washington. Elk, deer, bear, cougar, killed them all. Family's been hunting for 125 years in Washington. That's amazing. That's amazing. I've never thought of bear hunting, cougar hunting. I just never think of Washington as being a hunting place. I always think of just the South. Arkansas, Alabama, Georgia, places around the southeast region of being like diehard hunters. And I know, like, I have a buddy of mine that goes up to Kansas every year, and he hunts there. I think goes deer hunting there. But who knew? Who knew? Maybe I need to make a road trip up to Washington. Let's put that on the calendar. Let's go up to Washington and go hunt some deer. Actually, let's go hunt some bear. That sounds a lot better to me. That's awesome. Jackson, do I think Texas can make a run for the Big 12 championship or a New Year's Six? Absolutely, they can. Yes, they can. I think they can make a Big 12. Take that back. They win 9 games. They're in the running for both. They're in the running for the Big 12 championship. Depends on how Oklahoma and Iowa State do. And then, of course, they're in the running for the college football playoff as well. 100%. Or, excuse me, the New Year's Six bowl game. 100%. And let's see here. I'm not going to forget everybody else in the chat. We got to hit up Steven again with another super chat donation. Steven, that's two $10. I hope you're not hitting a wrong button, Steven. I hope you're not hitting a wrong button. That's two $10 super chats tonight. Thank you. Thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. It all goes right back into the channel and does so much for us. What are my thoughts on the Pac-12 having a team making the playoffs? And will we respect the Pac-12 more if they can get a team to the playoffs? I think, Steven, another great question. I think the respect part in that scenario, if they get a team to the playoffs, I think the respect part will come if whatever Pac-12 team that is, Washington, Oregon, USC, I think those are probably the only 3 teams that can compete for a playoff spot this year from the Pac-12. The respect part will come if that team contends well in the playoff. If that team gets in as a 4 seed and gets annihilated by Alabama or Ohio State or Clemson, I don't think many people will give them more respect. I don't. If they win that game, or if they take that said team down to the wire, I do think they get their respect. But you also have to ask yourself, are you giving respect to the whole conference for that? Or are you giving respect to one school? The problem with the Pac-12 and the problem with these teams in the Pac-12 is you have some really, really good teams in there. Like I mentioned, Oregon, Washington, and USC, I think for me, are the top teams right now. Utah's good every now and then. Arizona State's good every now and then. UCLA will make their way up. But the problem is you have these elite teams, their conference brings them down. Their strength of schedule, where is it? Those teams are beating up on one another. Oregon's going to play USC and Washington. Oregon and Washington are going to compete for the Pac-12 North year in and year out. They're beating up on one another. And the rest of the conference is just kind of sitting there. And if they pull off an upset, they ruin the entire conference's playoff hopes because Colorado's not making the playoff. Arizona's not making the playoff. You know, who's going to do that? Stanford's not this year. I mean, who's it going to be that emerges as that favorite and then can run the table? And then as the committee, you have to say, all right, you are an undefeated, hypothetically, Oregon. Undefeated Oregon team that has won the Pac-12, won most games convincingly, and let's keep in mind Oregon does play at Ohio State. That would be a huge resume-boosting win if they get that, enough to maybe propel them in the playoffs. Do they look at it and say, hey, we know you're 12-0, 13-0 with a Pac-12 title, but God, your strength of schedule is horrible. I go back to my argument with Clemson. Everybody complains about how weak Clemson's schedule is. Not their fault. Clemson takes care of business the way good teams should. It's not Clemson's fault the ACC's weak. It's not Oregon, Washington's, USC's. It's not their fault the Pac-12 is weak. Doesn't mean we as fans have to respect it. These teams need to perform a little bit better. But for those guys trying to get to the playoff, it's not their fault that the other teams in their conference aren't, carrying their weight. So long story short, I do think people would, I think getting to a team in the playoff, Stephen, slim this year. It's slim. Because Oregon will probably lose to Ohio State, so their resume-boosting win's gone. Oregon's going to play Washington. Let's say, Oregon beats them. Well, that's great. Well, then USC does well. Then USC has 2 losses, and USC beats Oregon. I mean, again, they beat up on one another. And for a Pac-12 team to get in with how weak this conference is, I think they're going to have to go undefeated. And I don't know if any team in the Pac-12 can go undefeated this year. So I don't think one gets in this year. I do think we respect them a little bit more if they do find a way to get into the Final Four. But then we need to respect them more if they perform well. They get annihilated like most 4 seeds do. I don't think there's much respect gained there. Excellent question, Stephen. And again, thank you so much for that Super Chat donation. You and Keto, again, cannot thank you enough for that. All right. As we are nearing the hour mark, believe it or not, time flies here on the Gridiron Expert. As we are nearing the hour mark, we're going to wrap up with a few more questions here. Throw any last questions, comments, concerns, advice, football, non-football, right here in the chat. We've got a few more left here I want to kind of touch on. Keto misses a good amount of the college football season live because he's always hunting. Hey, it's a time commitment, man. I get it. Get up early. You spend all day Saturday out there hunting, having fun. I completely understand. I could never. Maybe that's part of the reason I don't hunt is because I know I'd be giving up my college football Saturdays. But hey, more power to you, man. Because it's a very strenuous hobby. You have to be dedicated to go hunting. You've got to be dedicated. It's not just something you can wake up and be like, all right, I'm going to go hunting today. No. A lot more planning into that. You know that more than anybody. What all goes into that. And I do admire the people that do it. Dontron, looking at it right now, what do I think about Florida's schedule with the SEC Championship? Maybe a New Year's Six. We went over this last week, Dontron. 8-4, 9-3. I don't feel like this is an SEC Championship year for Florida. I don't know if anybody in the East can get past Georgia. I just don't. But that game, like we mentioned, in Jacksonville will determine that. I really do. And the quarterback questions, the defensive questions for Florida, there's just so much out there right now that we don't know. Adding a Reed Gilbert's great. That's a tight end, but you need a quarterback that can get in the ball. And you also need a defense that can stop JT Daniels. And if you get to the SEC Championship, stop more than likely Alabama. I don't know. Florida wasn't able to do that for the majority of this last year. Don't know if they can do it now. So 8-4, 9-3. I haven't had a finalized record yet, but it just doesn't seem to be in the cards right now. In the offseason, doesn't seem to be in the cards for the Gators. Zach, what non-conference games are I most excited for this season? The Week 1 games are going to be fantastic. Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, Miami. LSU plays UCLA, and that's going to be a really fun one just to see if UCLA is ready to take that next step forward under Chip Kelly and if LSU is ready to bounce back after a disappointing 2020. So that's all in week 1. Oregon, Ohio State. I was so pumped for that one in week 2 of his last season. We didn't get to see it. So unfortunately, Oregon doesn't get to host that game anymore. It's going to be in Columbus. But that's going to be an elite non-conference game. And Zach, I'll tell you too, I'm excited to see these rivalries get renewed. The rules were so stupid this year where they said, hey, SEC, ACC, Big Ten, you guys can play anybody within your conference. But Georgia and Georgia Tech, who reside in the same state, you can't play each other. Florida, Florida State, you can't play each other. Clemson, South Carolina, you can't play each other. Yeah, you're in the same state. Oh, South Carolina, you need to travel to, just hypothetically, Texas A&M, need to travel to Missouri, have at it. But one of y'all want to travel a couple 100 miles, maybe less than that, to play an in-state game? Sorry, not going to happen. It was the stupidest decision and stupidest reasoning from not just one, every single conference this year. So I'm excited to see some of those rivalries get renewed. I mean, we saw streaks come to an end, because of COVID and because of poor planning and incompetence from our leaders at the individual conferences. It was pitiful. So I'm excited to see those rivalries get renewed. And now, granted, I think Florida takes care of Florida State. I think Clemson takes care of South Carolina. I think Georgia takes care of Georgia Tech. Those are just a handful. Not saying they're going to be competitive, but getting to see them back in action will be nice. So I'm excited for a lot of those. The non-conference rules last year were dumb. They're going to travel halfway, you're going to travel from Arkansas to Florida, like Arkansas did. Arkansas to Florida, you could have, Florida play Florida State, because I know Florida wasn't traveling, but they were playing a team that was from a very far away distance. Again, where's the logic in that? There's not any. Keto, early prediction on Arkansas State at Washington. I wouldn't be too upset at an upset because it's your school, but we're gonna crush you. Keto, crush us, man. I think you're gonna crush us. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. Arkansas State put off a great upset at Kansas State last year, so I'm never ruling anything out of the cards. No one ever has a 0% chance of winning. Everybody's always got that chance, but Washington exceeded expectations last year in the short amount of time they played. Arkansas State dealing with a brand new coaching change, limited practice time, all that. Yeah, I'd love to get to that game, Keto. If I somehow make it up to Seattle for that game, traveling with the school or whatever, I will personally call you, and I will take you to lunch, Keto. Let's book that right now. If I somehow make it to Washington, for Arkansas State at Washington, we will get together. And I'm looking forward to that game for sure. All right, catching up on a little bit of the chat here. Again, apologize for kind of getting buried here, but I'm glad we're getting to a lot. Brad Highwood, good to have you. Michigan State #1 fan. No, Michigan State can't hang with Miami. Not this year, at least. Not this year. I didn't think they were going to do it this last year either, hosting it in East Lansing. No way they're going to do it in Miami. Again, with De'Aaron King coming back. And Burger Smooth, reiterating that. Appreciate you, man. I appreciate all the hard work you're doing on those recaps, too. I get those notifications every now and then with those timestamps. Killing it. I appreciate it. Zach, am I going to cover March Madness and conference tournaments for college basketball? We will have a March Madness video out at some point when the brackets finalize. I don't know how it's going to be structured. I really don't. I don't know how we're going to do that this year. Last year, we kind of created our own March Madness because the whole thing was canceled. So we seeded the teams ourselves and played it out through a series of simulations on NBA 2K, which ended up being a lot of fun, believe it or not. But and a lot of y'all got into it. I got into it. Saw some cool Cinderella runs. But we'll figure out something. We're not going to cover it after every game or after every day, because the round of 64 will start like on a Friday and run. We're not going to do it like that. But we'll have a preview when the bracket's released. We might do a Sweet 16 video and a Final Four video, something like that. Share some predictions and some thoughts on that. So stay tuned for that. Not sure how we're going to do it, but we're going to do it. Hokey for life, good to see you. Dontron, looking at it right now. Yeah, we just talked about that, Dontron. 8-4, 9-3, maybe New Year's 6. You could get there with a 9-3, but nothing less than that. Tyler, Northeast Pennsylvania. Hunting is so big that our high schools give students the first day of rifle deer season off. Tyler, I thought that was a myth. I had my parents and friends' parents used to tell me that, the times have changed, man. They would give them that day off of school to go hunting, and guys could show up to school with their gun racks on the back of their trucks. It's amazing the times have changed. Even in the South, how big it is here. I never hear of anybody getting out of school for deer season, for duck season. I mean, you might skip school, or you might get up really early and go hunt before you go to school, but you never get a day off. So Pennsylvania, they do that, at least in your area. That is so cool. I'm all for it. I think there are certain holidays, certain days of the year that people should get off school and work. The Monday after the Super Bowl, always should get the day off of work and school. And I got Josh over here laughing at me, but I know all of y'all can agree. I know all of y'all can agree with me. The Monday after the Super Bowl, you get the day off of school, you get the day off of work. All your typical holidays, your Christmas, your Easter, which I know is on Sunday. Easter Monday is always nice. You want to get that off. Halloween, you get Halloween off. I don't celebrate it that much, but a lot of people get into it. And then, of course, hunting, man. I don't hunt, but look, even if I'm not a hunter, I will take any free day off of school and work. Any day. Y'all go have a great time. I will sleep in and do my own thing. So I'm all for that. That's so cool. That's so cool. There's a handful of days I have left. We'll have a whole video dedicated to that. Days that should be holidays that aren't. Michael Johnson, how about the Gamecocks? How about them? I don't know what else to say. Shane Beamer's there. Kevin Harris is there. You're probably going to go 4-8, 5-7. Don't mean to be harsh, but I mean, how about them? I don't think you're going to get anything special out of them in 2021. But this is going to lay there's a good benchmark. Every new head coach, whatever they do in 2021, that's the benchmark. And in theory, they can only go up from there. So if Shane Beamer goes 4-8, all right, we've laid the groundwork. 4-8 in year one. Next year, let's try to go 6-6. Let's see improvement. So whatever happens for every new head coach, get it, improve on it the next year. It's a big deal for Shane Beamer in year one in South Carolina. He's got a lot of work to do in Columbia. Be patient with them. Keto, yeah, man. Hey, look, I don't know if I'm going to drive to Seattle. Good Lord, I'd like to fly from Arkansas. Golly, I'd love to fly to Seattle, not have to drive it. But I get to see a lot of the country that way. So if I make it up there, if I find a way, I'll be shooting you an email, 100%. Michael, Gamecocks going to win at least 8 games? Not a chance. I hate to break it to you, not a chance. We'll have those official predictions out in June, July, but not going to win 8 games. I hope I'm wrong. For your sake, hope I'm wrong, but not a chance. Zach, do I think Notre Dame could run the table again since all their big games are in South Bend? No. Too much turnover with Notre Dame this year. I think 10-2 would be a good year for them. And again, we'll break down their schedule in deeper detail later. But Cincinnati's no pushover. Could lose that. I know they've got USC. I know they've got North Carolina. North Carolina, like Iowa State, is a team that could challenge for a playoff spot, especially with Sam Howell being back. So many teams, guys, that over the last few years have not been elite, have not been contenders, that are now. And they are elite contenders, believe it or not. You might not want to believe it, but hopefully we're going to see some more parity in college football this year, and I think we're going to start seeing it with some schools like Iowa State and North Carolina. So Notre Dame, I don't think can run the table again. I wouldn't say they got lucky this year, but they beat Clemson without Trevor Lawrence in the first meeting in South Bend. Had he been there, would Clemson have won? I don't know, but a lot of people think they would have. So, and without a lot of key defensive starters. If Clemson had been fully healthy, Notre Dame probably would not have gone undefeated in the regular season, which means Notre Dame would not have made the college football playoff, which means Oklahoma could have slipped in. Or, I don't know, Florida could have slipped in there, even though they lost to Alabama. I don't know how it would have worked. But A&M probably would have slipped in there. So, Notre Dame, I would say, got somewhat lucky to go undefeated in 2020. Not going to happen again in 2021, despite having the big games at home. Grayson, what's going on? Do I think Baylor could win 9 games? No, unfortunately, I don't, as much as I'd love to see that. I think 7 or 8 would be the best case scenario. Best case scenario for them, but I'm just not feeling very confident. And our last comment of the night, let's leave it on a high note here. Street Fair. Haven't seen you in so long, man. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. South Carolina has been so disappointing lately, except the women's team. Basketball team, obviously, yeah. And happy to see the channel growth. Man, it's not possible, again, without guys like you who have been here for so long. So thank you so much for that. As for South Carolina, yes, they have been disappointing lately. I'm a huge fan of their program. I'm a huge fan. Frank Martin, I believe that's right. Frank Martin, great coach. Love the coach there. It's hard to believe that just a few years ago they were in the Final Four. Hard to believe that. This has been I know they've been battling COVID, though. COVID and injuries like that, so it's been a lackluster year. But they'll get back. They're getting close to being a tournament team again. I can feel it. But I know this was not the year that anybody envisioned, not just for basketball, but really the state of South Carolina athletics outside of the women's basketball team who are absolutely in the running for a national title yet again. Really excited to see how that plays out. Women's basketball this year is going to be just as fun as the men's tournament. But Street Fair, really, really good to see you again. And again, thank you so much for all the support. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you all so much for your support. Keto, yes, you could drive to Seattle. My mistake. I realized you weren't right in Seattle, so my bad on that. But Keto, thank you so much for your support. RJ Heller, we'll have a Miami record prediction out very, very soon, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Chase Cornelius, Georgia this year, national championship or bust. That's the expectation down to Kirby Smart, and they can win the national championship for the first time since 1980, 100%. And Tyler, the stories of the gum racks on trucks are real, not anymore though. They used to do that in high school, when our parents were in school, 100%. I know my mom and my dad used to tell me stories about that, and it's hard to believe. No way you could do that now, and rightfully so. It's just kind of crazy how much the times have changed and how different parts of the country deal with things like that. But I love it. I love the little hunting stories. I love it. It's really cool. But RJ, hey man, for everybody right now, before we shut it down, every Monday, mark it on your calendar now. You come home from school, you come home from work, every Monday, 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time, we will be right here. We will be right here talking college football. Next week, we're going to take your calls. Right here on the phones. We want to hear from you. We love the chat. We want to love the phones even more. We'll be here every Monday. We cannot wait to talk college football with you every single week, not just here on the live streams, but through the rest of the videos as well. Again, UCF analysis coming out tomorrow. Videos every single day this week. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Gridiron Expert. Keto, RJ, Tyler, Chase, Scott, I'm sure you'll catch it later. I appreciate you. DM, I appreciate you. Destry, Emperor of Rome, everybody that has been here and has yet to be here, we appreciate you. Without you guys, the Gridiron Expert is not possible. So again, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of the night. Stay warm out there. And we'll see you next week right here on the Gridiron Expert.